The Global Latin Factor Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Global Latin Factor Podcast, where we talk about Latino everything. Yes, if you're a Latino and you're a little bit lost as far as your culture, you've been wondering about some Latino and you really know where to look at, you found the perfect place. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We record off of Fishbowl Radio Network and right here at the Choctaw Studios, recently renamed Choctaw Studios. And
no, Choctaw Stadium.
Choctaw Stadium.
It was Globe Life Stadium.
That's right.
At the Fishbowl Studios.
Absolutely.
There
And
you
today, a very, very special day. She's done what she does because she's a professional. We have Sammi St. John-Martinez, a.k.a. Sammi G. She is the owner of Fishbowl Radio Network. They've been in business for 12 years, one of the first internet radio stations online. She's entrepreneur, 30 years terrestrial radio
40.
veteran, 40 years terrestrial
Yes.
radio veteran.
Soy vieja.
And one of the first Latinas in the DFW forward area, an on-air personality, Miss Sammi G. Hola.
Hola.
How you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for inviting me on your show. I'm excited.
I appreciate the last minute layup and assistance. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I was wondering why I hadn't been asked to be on your show.
Very improv. I've been thinking about it too.
So I'm just a fill-in.
But I wanted to make sure that I was up to par and got, back in the radio, back in the groove, back in the fishbowl, swimming nicely and felt comfortable even though I don't know how to swim. And then I was able to go toe-to-toe with you, which I'm not able to. 40 years of experience is way too much for me.
You can go toe-to-toe.
But at least I can do a better job for you this time.
All right. Let's do
So,
it.
okay. First segment we're going to do is called Preguntas al Chile. I know it sounds a little vulgar, but all it means is it's an expression that we say Latinos, some Latinos, Mexicanos, that is straight to the point. Tacos o tortas?
Tacos.
Corn tortilla, flour tortilla.
Flour.
Gorditas, sopes.
Sopas.
Mexican coca or jarrito.
Jarrito.
Horchata, jamaica or tamarindo
Horchata.
agua. Oh, look at her. Salsa verde, salsa roja.
My husband's salsa verde.
Menudo, pozole.
My husband's menudo.
Okay, why your salsa verde? What's so special about his
My
salsa?
husband's salsa verde,
Uh-huh.
which was his mother's recipe.
Mm.
I'm not kidding you. People call us for it. They've told him he needs to go into business for it. Like this salsa, I have never tasted a salsa like that. And when we share it with people that come over to eat, they're like, I want some of this.
Is it like something special? I don't want you to. If it's his family secret, he's gonna go into business.
Well,
I
I
don't want to
mean,
ruin it.
I've never made it. I don't cook very much, so I don't even know what's in it. My daughter's learned to make it, but he says it's the love he puts in it. But there's something that is just so different about it that
Right.
people really ask. I'm not just saying this, like they ask us. So sometimes for Christmas, we'll give that as gifts in jars. We make a lot because people want it.
Wow.
And so, he makes it fresh. And
think-
it is so good.
I think some of the most successful restaurants, the cooks cook with love.
Yes.
And that's the reason why it's different than every other place.
Yes. So I think that's why he says but I'm just saying, like, oh my God.
And then menudo is the same.
The
him?
same. His mom's recipe. And they kind of have a little competition in his family of who can make the best menudo from his mom's recipe from back in the day. May she rest in peace. But gosh, that menudo, I have to say, of all the siblings that I've tasted the menudos, his is the best.
Do he use hominy on his recipe?
Yes.
Okay, because there's people that call it pancita,
Right.
which is the same thing as menudo, and people call it menudo here.
Yes.
All
And
right.
another thing, where I come from, El Paso, Texas, we eat it with bolillos.
Yes.
And then when I moved here
Tostada.
to the Dallas, Texas, they eat it with tortilla.
Tortilla tostada.
Yes.
When I used to eat it, when I first got here to the state when I was 11 back in 1993,
Right.
I used to eat it with tostadas. Just a
Okay.
tostada with a
Right.
little salt on it.
Okay,
That's how we
so
used to eat it.
we eat it with the bolillo with butter, and we heat them up in the oven to where it's outside it's crispy with the
Yeah.
menudo,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
getting that season where it's cold. Like he makes it more in the fall and the winter.
Perfect.
So I can't wait. Now you got me craving it. Now I'm gonna ask
Well,
him to make it this weekend.
I think the temperature's going to drop soon, so here you go. Churros or flan?
Flan.
I don't know if
No. Churro. I don't know. I like
Oh,
both.
that was hard. Which one?
Churros or flan. Churros or flan.
Okay. I don't know if you drink beer or not. Corona, Dos Equis, Modelo, or Victoria?
Dos X.
Tequila or mezcal?
Tequila.
Okay. Mazapan o Duvalin? The candies.
Mazapan. I love mazapan.
Valentina, Tapatio, or Cholula sauce? Hot sauce.
Cholula.
Okay, so the conchas. They're different colors. I don't know if the flavor is different, but do you like the brown ones, the white ones, or the pink ones?
The conchas. Oh, definitely the chocolate ones.
Don't they taste like chocolate?
Yes. I
we
call
were
them chocolate,
debating.
vanilla, and strawberry.
We were debating. I don't know how much. I know for sure the chocolate ones have a different flavor than all
Yeah,
the
they
other
put the
ones.
cocoa in them when they make
Is
them.
that
And
what
then
it
the
is?
vanilla, they put vanilla. And the strawberry, they
See,
put
I'm
strawberry.
learning something because last time I had a young group and we were having a discussion if they did have flavors, and
They
I thought
do.
they did.
Yeah, it's chocolate,
but-
vanilla, and strawberry. My favorite is chocolate, second vanilla, and then last strawberry.
Alrighty, margarita or sal on your margarita. You like,
I like
sugar?
a frozen margarita with
Do you
sal.
like sugar or sal?
Sal.
Okay, and the last one, refried beans or borracho beans.
Borracho beans.
Okay, so I know for a fact because I've seen plenty of your interviews and plenty of times you've been interviewed before, and I'm pretty sure you had many other, probably in the thousands. Do you think you've been interviewed about 1,000?
No, maybe
think
the
so?
100 in the
Close
hundreds.
to, though.
No, not
40
thousands.
years?
Yeah, but not thousands.
No way.
Yeah.
It hasn't been that.
No, not
How many
thousands.
shows have been here? No way that it's not getting close to 1,000
Well,
interviews.
yeah, but not me personally, where they've interviewed me.
Yes.
No, not.
Okay, what about
hundreds.
combined people you interview and times you've been interviewed?
Oh
It's probably
yeah.
in the
Oh yeah,
thousands.
lots.
Anyway,
Yes.
so it has happened that you got up there to the thousands. But one question that I really wanted to ask you, because I feel like an interview is a lot catered to the person that's here. And again, I do appreciate it. And even though it's last minute, you're a very 40-year professional that you know what you're doing. But I'm always curious to know, of all the times you've been interviewed, 3 questions that you wish they would have asked this entire time that you've been interviewed before. What would that be? One of them.
So one of them is, how has my Latino culture affected my career in broadcasting and as an entrepreneur?
Okay.
So no one's ever asked me that.
Okay. So tell me, how has it happened?
So basically, wait, you're doing the interview, but you're making me come up with the questions.
Kind of.
You're-
It's a little trickery, but you know. It's,
Wait a minute.
If y'all don't know about
You
this,
should have
know,
been doing the work, but see, I see how he flips that onto the guest to do the work.
I could ask 1,000,001 questions, but it wouldn't touch you the same way if it was something that you wish they would have asked you
All right.
before.
Well, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
no one's ever asked me how my Latino culture has affected my career and my business. And how it's affected my career, I'll start there. When I first started in radio, I didn't go into Spanish language radio. I went into, what they call secular English radio. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of women and there wasn't a lot of Latinas, especially.
Are you the first Latina ever?
So I'm the first Latina on an English radio station here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, in El Paso, it's different because we're a 90% population of Latinas. So that was normal.
Yes.
When I came to Dallas in 1989, there was no Latina on the radio that was Latina on an English station. They were on the Spanish language stations.
Oh, yeah.
But they weren't on the English radio stations. So I'm also the first Latina that's done a morning show on English radio station here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
The first one.
So, yes, the first one. So, I mean, in that sense, I believe it was an advantage. It opened a door, right? Because maybe that's what they were looking for, to try to get that audience. They knew the population was growing so much that they
Right.
had to have someone to appeal to that audience. So, I think it was an advantage that I was Latina to get that break, right? I was there at the right time, at the right place in the world, right?
Right.
So more and more English radio stations knew that in order to get the #1 ratings, they needed to go for that Latino population as well. Just like kind of when
Absolutely.
people are voting for politics, they need
Yes.
that Latino vote.
Oh,
So the
yes.
same thing. So that's how it affected my career in a positive way.
What about the barriers? Did you
Uh,
have any barriers being a Latina, knowing that you kind of can see that you're a Latina, but kind of can see you might be, I don't know, maybe Italian a little bit?
Really? I don't know.
No?
I mean,
But-
I've been told, white, Italian, whatever.
You're a lighter skinned Latina.
Yes,
It's only
yes.
obvious. But any barriers at that time?
No, not for me. No, I've heard many people say that they had barriers as a female back in the day because there wasn't very many, as a whatever their race is or whatever. But I've always told people that because of the way I was raised by my parents,
Right.
they didn't socialize me to think about those things. So I think because I didn't put them in my head or mind, I never carried that barrier with me. or made it an obstacle. I was just like, I can do it. This is what I want to do. I'm going to do it. I was fearless in that sense. I didn't start thinking like, well, maybe I can't because, I'm a woman, or maybe I can't because I'm Latina.
Right.
I didn't have those things in me. I just went for it, and I think sometimes if people put those barriers on themselves, they kind of block themselves from those opportunities.
It's important what you said, though, because not only the mental part, but not to mention the fact that your parents from small already started putting it in your mind that wasn't going to be something.
That's right. It's all mental.
It is mental. All mental. Because let's say they did, like, you would grow up to be scared or
insecure,
things like that.
Right.
They got a couple of ideas. Just the idea growing in your head that if you go out there, it's going to be hard because you're a female, this and that. But they erased that completely out of your mind, and you went in without no fear whatsoever.
Exactly.
And if so happened to be that something came up, I'm pretty sure you'd be like, not important. Because I already know what I want.
I think that helps you have that confidence. Absolutely. Because you're like, why not me? I never thought of, why not me because I'm a woman, or why not me because I'm Latina? That didn't come into me. Why not me? Yeah. Like, I'm just as capable as anybody else. So
absolutely. Those
things weren't in me. So in that sense, it was great for me in my opportunity as an entrepreneur, being Latina. Nobody's ever asked me, how do I bring that culture in? A lot of times as Latinos, we have cultural things that we do that maybe other people in other races don't understand. And for us, we're going like, oh, that's not right. So I'll give you an example. Like, as a Latina, and I've had other conversations with people here that are Latino or Latina, we're taught, where there's a saying, my mom used to say, no seas ranchera. When you walk into a room, you greet everybody. When you leave, you better say bye to everybody. And that's every single time. Do you get what I'm talking about? Right?
It's like falta de educación.
That's it.
You don't have no education if you don't do that when you enter and when you leave.
And when you leave. That's like this Latino thing, Latin thing. So when people come into Fishbowl, right, because that's how I was raised, that's a Latino thing that's in me, in my culture. I'm like, dang, they didn't even say hi, or dang, they didn't even say bye. Like, I see it as something rude when maybe it's not. It's just not the way their culture is, because that's a very important thing in our culture that we're brought up with.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's just an example of how my Latino culture, some of those things that we're raised with, infiltrates into your everyday business.
Yeah, because even there's another saying, you said, whenever you don't say good morning, like, ¿qué dormimos juntos o qué?
Right.
Right. But a translation for, like, let's say, like, falta de educación would be lack of manners.
Yes.
Because you're kind of being, like you said, rude.
We see it as rude.
I do see it. I'm like, okay, what's wrong with this person?
Right. But other people don't. I remember my son's girlfriend. She's, white. And when she first came over, it was like, wait, you have to say hi to everybody when you get in and then say bye to everybody? There could be 20, 30 people there at an event, like a baptism or a baby shower. I said, yeah, everybody. So it's funny because now when she'll meet us at a restaurant or anywhere, like, she might be at our house in the morning. She greets us. She greets us. Then like 2 hours later, we're going to meet at a restaurant. She greets us because she's like, she goes, you mean even if I see you multiple times a day throughout the day, like at different places, we got to do that? I go, yep, that's the way it is in the Latino culture.
I think the American way infiltrated on me now, because I don't do it as much as I used to, especially when I go into like a family party and there's other people that I don't know. Family maybe.
Yes.
But everybody's like, hey, hola, ¿cómo están todos? How you doing?
Right.
And that's it.
Right. Like, and sometimes you want to sneak out.
Yeah.
But not if you can't, because then everybody be, ay, no tiene educación. True, you know what I mean? That's how we
value that so much. We really do have a thing about it that we really want to feel like we're doing the right thing in that manner.
Yes.
Okay. Another thing that you said that I liked is the fact that besides the fact that you didn't have no barriers, then you were determined. When did the radio part came to be? Is that something that just grew out of nowhere?
So, no, I always knew since I was little. That was another thing my parents, they always would ask us since we were little. I'm talking 4, 5, 6. What do you love? What do you want to do? What do you enjoy doing? And I always knew that it was something where I could use my voice, like stand up in front of a classroom and be a teacher, public speaking, radio, a news anchor woman. Like, I always had that in me. So I would always express those kinds of things. Right. So from the moment that me and my siblings would express what it is that we wanted to do or that we liked, because they would always constantly ask us, then they would support us by putting us into classes or situations where we were going to be able to hone those skills.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Well, I remember the year because I seen pictures of you. Of you were a lot into athletics.
Yes.
And then eventually you changed from runner. You were a runner.
Yeah.
Long
Well, I've
distance
always
runner.
done both. I was
Okay.
really into athletics from the age of 7 to 30. I competed. And then I was always into also, again, the public speaking, the oratory, the theater, all that. I did that too while I was doing all that.
Do you felt that it went one-on-one with being able to run, have the stamina, and then help you in the radio? Because you do need to have like a certain amount of like voice and like stamina in your voice, like your lungs,
Your lungs,
to be
yeah.
able to do what you do.
Yeah, definitely as like a vocal artist, because I do voiceover work for commercials. Yes, you always have to build your lungs. The people I teach voiceover now, I tell them you have to do cardio work
Yeah.
because you have to build your lungs, because you might read an audio book or a script and it requires that lung capacity. So in that sense, but I think more the sports also help me, that radio is very competitive. So I was already a competitor. So when I got into radio, it's very competitive. So that was not
So off to the race as soon as you
yeah,
went
that
to the
was
door.
not a thing for me. Like, let's go, baby. I want to compete. You know what I
That's
mean?
cool. What about question number 2 that you wish they would have asked you at other interviews? What would
So
that be?
I wish they would have asked me, what sacrifices did you have to make in this field?
Okay. So everybody sees the 40 years plus, the 12 years with the company now that you have, like the Instagram picture that everybody sees now that you made it.
Yes.
But nobody sees everything else that you have to, like nights that you wanted to go out that you couldn't go out,
Right.
and things like that. So tell me, what were those sacrifices that you made?
Well, the biggest sacrifices when I was younger, before I was married and have kids, was that I had to, for instance, my very first radio job, I started at the bottom. It was an overnight job from midnight to 6. And then I went to school, full-time college, and my first class started at 8 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
So that was a sacrifice. Like, I didn't sleep much back then. So, I didn't get to, it was work, and then it was go to college, and then it was try to get some rest, and it was go back to work. So I missed out on a lot of the college life stuff, like going to football games or parties or all those things. I didn't do that because I started really early in my career. So right then I, got into my career. So it was work and school, work and school, work and
What kind
school.
of jobs were you doing at that time?
What do you mean?
What, like work-wise?
That's what
during
I'm
that
saying.
time?
My overnight shift in the radio station.
Okay, so you were already in the
Yeah, I was
overnight.
17 years old when I got my first radio job. That's why when I say I've been 40 years, I'm 57.
Okay, so how did that come about? How did you just walk into a place 17 years old?
I didn't walk
Latina?
in. I didn't walk in. What happened was I was in school. I was studying communications. That was my degree. And I go into one of my classes one day. It was broadcasting law. And the lady that was teaching it, she was an television anchor woman from some town, and she was the instructor.
Right.
So, the class was over, and she pulled me aside, and she goes, "Hey, Sammy, I got a notice that on this job board that they're hiring some radio DJs at this radio station called Power 102. It's here in El Paso. They're going to start." And they're bringing a lot of the people from California, because the owner of the business of the radio station was from California. They're bringing some radio, but they want one person that's local. It's the bottom shift. It's midnight to 6. And I think you should go audition. I think you should go try out for it. And I was like, radio? I don't even really, like, I had never bought a record. Like, my siblings were into that. But, I mean, I like music, but I wasn't like,
course.
wow. You know how some people love music? I was like, okay. I was like, what? I said, not radio. I said, I want to be an anchor woman. I want to be on TV. And she was like, yeah, but they also own TV stations. So that's a good way to break in, get some experience, and then go to TV. And I said, okay. So I went, I called, I set up an interview. Then they told me that they wanted me to come in the overnight to audition, because nobody would be listening to audition. And I said, okay. So I didn't know any of because the technical boards and everything at the station were nothing like at the college where we were practicing.
So y'all practice. Usually colleges practice with like years.
Yeah, we were
years
practicing with
behind.
the record, with the vinyl. This was now carts and stuff. And I was like,
yeah.
oh my God. So I said, I'm like, what am I going to do? I don't know. But I didn't act like it, right? Again, fearless.
Confidence.
Yeah, just fearless. And
Yeah.
I said, can I come in a few hours early to watch the DJ before, just to kind of see what I got to do? The talking part I knew I had down.
Oh yeah.
It was the technical part. So I came in a few hours early, like at 9, sat in on the show, and watched, and he talked to me and showed me what buttons, this, whatever. I wrote notes. By midnight came, I did the audition, went home, went to sleep, got up the next day, went to school, and then I had a call, and they said, you got it.
Oh, wow. So they weren't doing demos at that time either. That was live auditions.
That was a live audition.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a live audition.
And you were able to manage to learn all that just by writing notes?
Yeah. In reality, you
Very
see this
impressive.
big, well, no, it's not that impressive.
Well, there's a
okay?
couple of buttons only. Of all those buttons,
Right, you
there's
only use like 3.
five.
Right. So
Right?
it wasn't that hard.
Yeah,
You
it
have
was
your
not.
microphone, you have your 3 card machines. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The telephone, 5.
But still,
So-
though, the overwhelming sensation just looking at so many buttons.
And that's why you go in there and you see all these buttons and you're like freaking out. But then, I went in early, like I said, and he was like, you just need these and these. And they're all labeled. So, okay, it's not that difficult. You know what I mean? It wasn't that hard. It's 5 buttons.
And you kept that going till when?
So I started doing that. And within 6 months, I was like, okay, this is getting really hard to work from midnight to 6, go to school, full load.
Wow.
I'm not sleeping. I'm like, I don't know, I can handle this. So you know what? I think I'm gonna quit because this is just too much. But I was loving it. I was enjoying it. I didn't think I would get that much love and enjoyment out of radio. I was
How
loving
far,
it.
when you started doing the gig, that all of a sudden you felt that love part?
Immediately. It was so much fun. I loved it. So I was like, "Oh my God!" I go, but I can't handle the schedule. But I'm not going to quit school.
Absolutely.
And so I'm going to quit. I think I'm going to give him my 2 weeks notice. So as I was processing this and thinking I'm about to give him my 2 weeks notice, I get a call from a station and a gentleman named Raymond Mesa. He's actually an anchorman in California and Los Angeles for one of the Spanish language stations.
To this day?
To this day.
Oh, wow.
So you can look him up on Facebook, Raymond Mesa. But Raymond Mesa called me and he said, hey, and he was the competition for this station at a station called 93Z. He was the program director. And he goes, hey, we've heard you. We'd love to offer you a job at 93Z. And I was like, okay, what time? And they said, we want you to be the midday girl from 10 to 2.
Perfect.
And I was like, okay, my semester's about to finish. Now I can schedule my school around that. And that's more like a human life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I
More
did that.
exposure, too, is during the day.
Oh, yeah. So within 6 months, boom. From the first time I went to that audition for that first radio show, I never had to look for a job after that in radio. They would call me and offer me a job. So that's when I knew this is my purpose. God is putting all the pieces together. You know what I mean? Like he wants me to do this. He's not letting me quit.
You know when they say that you're like at your breaking point, you just got to keep it going just
Yes.
a little further because you were just about to be
Yes.
like, that's it.
But 6 months is pretty small,
is.
you know, but I could,
still-
it was my
okay,
breaking
How many
point.
hours of sleep were you getting, though?
Not much.
Exactly.
Not much.
And you need sleep during this time that
Yes.
you're developing and everything, you know?
Yes.
So maybe to you it was only 6 months, but literally just sleeping a little bit more probably felt like, and especially when times are going hard,
Yes.
time seems to be felt like it's longer.
Yes, it
so
was
you
rough.
might have felt like it's 6 months, but it could have been like 5 years.
Yeah,
you know,
it felt it
in
was
total.
rough. It was rough, dude.
Okay.
I was just like, you know. So I remember falling asleep at the couches at the university in the Union where you go
Oh,
eat. I would
yeah.
just like take naps. I would fall asleep, you know, and just it was a lot of lack of sleep. But then I got this other job, perfect schedule, perfect time. I started there, and yeah, it was awesome.
So the 6 month job at night, you were getting paid. They were paying, and
yeah.
then this one an
Yeah.
increase too.
Yes, an
in pay?
increase, yeah.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Okay, what other sacrifice you felt like you made during this time as well?
So again, once I got into that industry, for me, that was like everything. It's just been, you know, as far as sacrificing, knowing that we have a term in radio. It's called those that love it. They're called radio rats.
Radio rats.
Because you know how rats, they're always there.
Yeah, like gym rats.
Yeah,
and all the
like
other
gym rats. So we're
terms,
called
same thing.
radio rats. So once I was in that business, I was always at the radio station. Even when I wasn't supposed to be, I was either at school or at the radio station. So your friends become the people at the radio station. Yeah. Everything is about that world. So you kind of, it's not even feeling like a sacrifice, but you sacrifice, you know, maybe doing other things with other people.
Yeah, but then you always mention, especially on people that are coming up on radio, is that preparation's key.
That's it.
When
You
it comes
have to.
it. So even if you were getting up and acquainting yourself with the rest, you were still most likely prepping for.
Exactly. And it's also like, it's an industry where everybody knows each other. So
Right.
you have to have that networking and that stuff. So more of the sacrifices came after when I got married and had children, that's where more of the sacrifices came in. And really, they're the ones that made a sacrifice because mom was always working. Mom was always gone. Mom was always at events. Mom was always, you know what I mean? So my husband and my children, either they would come with me and they grew up in it. If I could bring them, I would bring them to the radio station.
Okay.
If I could bring them, I'd bring them to the events. But I remember, here's one story, an example. I had just gotten a job at a radio station doing a morning show here. It was the first female to do head a morning show and then first Latina. And
what radio station was it?
It was Kick FM 99.1.
Mm-hmm.
So then they told me I had just had my daughter. I had just come back from maternity leave after 12 weeks. And then they said, hey, next week you're going to go to the Super Bowl. You're going to cover the Super Bowl with your team. You guys are going to get to be on Radio Row.
Are you serious?
And you guys are going to get to be live there for a whole week in Phoenix. It was when it was when the Cowboys were playing.
Cowboys.
The Steelers.
Pittsburgh
yes,
Steelers.
Yes,
Yep.
and it was in Arizona. And, you know, I was like, I just had a baby. I can't leave. But I couldn't say no. It was part of my job, right? And so that was a sacrifice to have to leave my baby so young. And when I did the morning show starts at 5 in the morning. And the station was in Dallas right off 35. I was living in Grand Prairie. I would have to wake up at 3 in the morning, shower, leave my house by 4, get there by 4:30, be on the air. So all those morning things that you do with your kids, like breakfast and take them to school, but they were little. But I'm saying I had to have a nanny live with me to help me with all that because my husband would go to work.
Oh, yeah.
So my kids sacrificed a lot of time with mom. And so that was a huge sacrifice for them. And to this day, they're still sacrificing. That's why you see, I have to incorporate them in my life. If not, I'd probably rarely see them.
Yeah. Was there anything like guilt-wise or anything like, because I know that was part of what you needed to do because I know that's your passion. That's what you felt like, you know, you were placed here on earth to do so. But any kind of guilt at all whatsoever? And if so,
always.
how you dealt with it?
Always. I would sometimes be driving to work crying, you know, because it's like you're torn.
Absolutely.
You're torn between two, you know, but you're wanting to provide the best that you can for your children. And then in hindsight, would I have done anything different? I always say I'm a person that lives with no regrets but one. And that was the one that I think I wish I would have. When I had my kids, I was in the industry. So right after my maternity leave, I'd have to come back because you're under a contract.
Oh, yeah.
I wish that I would have taken probably the first 5 years of their life and been with them and then gone back to work. But this is kind of an industry where if you're off that long,
they forget you.
Yeah, they forget you.
Quickly.
And so it's very hard to get back in. So it was a risky situation. But I think I shouldn't have been afraid because if that's your purpose and your calling, just like God put all those other opportunities, he would have made that happen anyway. So that is really my only regret in life.
And then one of the biggest feel like is sacrifice that you're done. That you needed to do in order to continue to do what you needed to do to provide also for your family.
Yeah, to provide.
You did put money, food on the table.
Oh,
eventually.
of course, yeah.
And a good live education.
Yeah,
everything they needed to.
So they grew up in a nice house. They had all the things, but a lot of times I think those first 5 years are so crucial. And they say, I asked them, did it affect you? No, they don't know. We're good. They don't say anything, but it's probably more me, my own personal guilt, thinking.
I think it's things that you've probably looked into because from what I heard, identity of a child becomes from the time they're born till 7 years old to get their personality.
Yes.
And during those times, you feel like it's crucial to be there for the same reason that you're trying to mold them into things they're going to be,
Yes.
And you'll later see years later if that's true or not because, you might want them to act a certain way, but they might be acting differently.
Right.
And then that takes you back to was it that part?
Was it that? Did I do that?
Yeah.
I would have done this? Would they have this? Yeah. So I think moms, no matter what, we always have those things.
Yeah.
Because let's say that I've heard moms that stay home and they sacrifice that. Then they go, maybe if I would have went to work, I would have been able to provide better for them, and they wouldn't. You know what I mean? So you can't win as a mom.
Win.
You cannot win as a mom.
Can't win
as a mom. Period. So
but I think something important you told me before, because I think I asked you before, what if this happened? What if that would have happened? And we always forget that this is the way that it should have happened.
Exactly.
It needed to happen this way. There's no reason to look back in this and that is over. It's already this is the way it needed to be. This is the way you went.
But
and
I
that's
also
that.
think a part of that too is moms is like it flies, right? You look up and they're already adults, and you say, "Oh man, I wish I would have had more time with them as babies." You know what I mean? Because you look up and the time it flies,
That is true too, and that you can't get back.
and you can't get back time.
But, however, I think it's significant that they're alive.
Yes.
They're being productive humans in society.
Yes.
They're doing whatever they need to, and they are living
Yes.
again
Well,
with
I
their own
asked them,
families.
right? I'll ask them. I'll go, "Did it affect you that I work so much?" And they were like, "No, no." You know, so as long as they're good, okay. It's my own personal
I
mom
think
guilt.
so.
You know.
And I never thought about how moms, even after the fact that you gave birth, you fed them, and still to this day, raising your kid even
never
going
done.
back to trying to think, how can I done it better?
Yes.
It's never over.
Yes.
And that's crazy to me.
Yes.
And I appreciate my mom, and I appreciate you as a mom that
Well,
without you,
because
I
we
wouldn't
love
be
our
here.
children so
Yeah,
much, and we
yeah.
want to make sure that we did everything we could, right,
Yeah.
to make them productive, kind
Yeah, I don't
citizens.
I think we don't give you enough credit as far as moms.
Yeah.
And even if you want to picture, imagine, kind of capturing words, trying to see, is you just can never. That's the reason why Mother's Day is one of the biggest holidays, because we can never put it into words, not like things, material things, to provide y'all to see how important it is.
Yes.
The role that y'all play.
Yes.
So, okay, what about the third question that you wish I would ask you of the times that you've been interviewed before?
So I think a third, and again, it goes back to my family, is I think they never ask, like, how important is it for the person that you're married to, or let's say you're dating, because before I was married, I was dating or whatever. How important is that other significant other? How important is it that they support you in your probably any dream, but radio especially has a high percentage rate. When you look at radio and television media people, has a high percentage rate of divorces.
Okay, let me
has a
ask you
high
something.
percentage because they sacrifice a lot too. And no one's ever asked me, like, how important is that when you are in this industry, that you are with somebody, whether you're dating or married, that is going to be very supportive of what is required for you to be successful in this industry.
Let me ask something personal. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, because if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know if you're okay with talking, you
I'm okay.
divorced
I'm
before.
open. Yes, I was.
So did that happen because of the same thing?
No. And that's a good thing. I've been married twice, and both of them were very supportive of my industry and career. I don't think I could have probably been with someone, because anyone that I did date that wasn't supportive, we broke up. I mean, it just didn't work. But that's why a lot of times there's a lot of breakups, there's a lot of divorces, because it's a lot of time required away. And you're going to events, I got to go to the Super Bowl for a week. And, who are you going with? I'm going with the sports guy, the news guy, and it's all guys.
It's all guys.
Yeah, so as a female, even though the percentage rate is high divorce in males and females, I mean, again, your husband has to be very confident. They have to have a lot of trust in you because, I got to go to this remote. Where's it at? It's at the club. You know what I mean? And I'm going, I got to go. Now they can come with you, but after a while, it gets old for them, So they're like, I don't want to go, So they have to trust you. And so you're out there with people. You're meeting so many people. And so let's talk about our Latino community. Our Latino men tend to be, they say, a little bit more macho. Right, and they're a little bit more protective, and they're a little bit more, you know what I mean? Jealous, you could say. So, again, that is an important thing to say. Is this Latino man that I'm going to be with? Because both my husbands were Latinos. Are they going to be that kind of man that is not a macho man, that is going to give me the freedom to have the wings to do what I need to do?
Right.
So because if you have that stress and that conflict of where are you going, who are you going with, what time are you going to be home, you can't go and freely do your job right.
No, not at all.
And so that causes a lot of problems.
So it's going to reflect in your work as well.
It's going to reflect in your work. It's going to reflect. So I'm blessed that, again, that was never the case for me. But nobody's ever asked me that because they also have to sacrifice too. They also have to sacrifice.
Absolutely. And have you ever had a conversation about that as far as like, has it even came up as a conversation that like any kind of conflict about that at all for either husband? No. Everything's been.
I think this is kind of funny. When I met my husband now, Miguel, I was in the industry. I was working at K104 at the time. So he knew me. He's known me in the industry. That's all he's known.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and Miguel, I knew because I met him. I knew him in high school. I knew his family. I knew how he was. Is a very confident person. So I knew there would never be an issue. He's not going to be a jealous guy. He's not going to be possessive. He's not going to be. So I didn't even have to worry about that. But it's so funny that for the first time in all those years, this year 12 of Fishbowl, he made one comment one time not too long ago, because I said, you know what, I gotta start changing my hours. I'm gonna get off at 7 every day. And I think one day I got home at 9, and he goes, hey, I thought you were gonna get off at 7. And I said, well, I couldn't, because you did it. Well, look, here I am Friday. It's gonna be 8.
I apologize, Mr. Miguel Martinez. That's so totally my fault. I do apologize. Next time I do see you, next drink on me.
Yeah, but
100%.
no,
I'm sorry.
But he never asked me what time are you gonna be home. What time? There was times. I mean, I would be here till 11 till we could. Lots of times, There's times I'd be here till 2 in the morning when I was starting this business, or 3.
Oh yeah.
And so it's so funny because he would never say anything. He would never complain. He was always supportive. But that not too long ago, he goes, somebody here made me mad. A client made me mad, and I went home and I was like, this client, blah 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 blah. And I said, that's it, I'm done. And he goes, yeah, because you've given 12 years to them. Now it's my turn. And I was like, huh? Like, he's never said anything about that. You know what I mean? And it was cute. I thought it was cute.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Okay, so in '89, when you got here, there was a certain way, demographic, everything that was functioning at that time, especially with the Latino, was different compared to what it is now. The global Latin factor, I felt like, is something that's been happening for years, generations to come, and generations that had happened and to come, as far as the things that we have contributed. So from '89 to now, I call it the global Latin factor because everything's connected now globally, whether we want it or not. Markets, internet, everything, social media. Have you seen that impact as far as what I'm referring to, the global Latin factor, from '89 to this year to 2021? Yeah,
I mean, it just keeps getting greater and greater and greater. When you look at it on a spiritual standpoint, we truly are connected. We are supposed to feel like, even though we might not be related by blood, we're still one, because whatever affects me in the world is eventually going to affect you. Yeah. So on a spiritual level, it's always been and should be that we're thinking of not just ourselves, but the whole, right? How everything, because everything's a ripple effect. What I do doesn't just affect me. It affects my family, which then affects my neighborhood, which then affects my community, which then affects my state, which then affects the nation, and so on and so on and so on. So we have to be intentional about our words, intentional about the things we're doing, because it's a ripple effect. But definitely, since the onset of internet, when it's so easy to connect with everybody and people, right? It's made things even more tangible for people, I think, to be able to feel that connection.
Okay. So tell me about Fishbowl. I know, if I'm not mistaken, it was a vision that was given to you at one time, and that's how it took place. And
yes.
That's how it came to be. Can you tell me and elaborate a little bit more about that?
Oh wow! So I'm really excited because I'm going to do a shameless plug. Even though we're sold out, our 12 year, and every year we do a Sharky Awards, right?
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, your videographer Carlos, he's the one that always would put our presentation together. But he's gotten so big and so busy that he couldn't do ours this year.
Is a new
haircut. He just doesn't have time for Fishbowl no more. So I had to get somebody else. But today I saw the final version that we're going to get to see. It's the first time we're kind of trying to do something out of the box. We wanted to do a documentary of the company for the last 12 years, and within that, the awards show. So it was kind of an idea I had, and I said, well, let's just try it. Let's see what happens. It's going to be at the Cinemark Theater in Grand Prairie. It's going to be next Saturday. It's red carpet. We are sold out, but I got to see the final version today, and look, it had me in tears, and it was really great because it kind of tells the story of from when we started to now. And it's been interesting to see,
Without spoiling it, can you tell me just a little bit about what would they expect, like the history of?
Well, yeah, they're going to hear, how did I come up with the idea? They're going to hear about the different people that have gone through the network. They're going to hear about the different challenges we've had, and then all the good things that I've had. So,
yeah. And it's pretty funny. It's not funny, but it's interesting because we most of the times when we at the awards, some of those
Yes.
things are discussed. But now some of the hosts are going to be able to see it in a picture
Right.
form as to the stories that we've been telling. You've been telling for years. So it's like
Yes.
your very first client,
Yes.
like
Candyman, yeah.
Candyman, to all the other people.
Right, because sometimes you might be a client that just started a show last week, and you come in, and Fishbowl to you is what you see right now. You didn't get to see everything that me and Candyman, our very first client, and someone like Dee Dee Ingram or Keith Hall or some of these foundational shows,
Oh, yeah.
Rick McNeely, have seen. They've seen it. They've been here the 12 years. So they've seen every transition, every evolution, every change, the good, the bad, the ugly. But most of the hosts haven't. It's from the point they come in, that's what they see. So in their mind, that's where it started.
Yeah.
But no, it really started way back when, right?
Yeah.
You never
Was there a
see-
moment in time that you felt like it wasn't gonna work at those times that were really, really difficult?
I
Just
never-
like that 6-month period that you just about to break, and they just pushed a little bit harder.
I never felt it wasn't going to work from the day that first client came in, Candy, because I knew if one would want this, others would want it. And I've never felt that. What I did feel and do feel sometimes is like, I can't do this anymore because I'm getting older. It's a lot, and that's just any entrepreneur, any business. It requires a lot. Like what we do, and again, your videographer, he's been here on the day-to-day operations. He understands all the different elements that come into play. Our hosts come in once a week, do a show, they leave, right?
Yep.
They don't see all the behind the scenes of everything that goes on to make everything happen, right? So there's a lot of moving parts to it. And so it's a lot of work. It's time consuming. It's very, changing all the time. It's radio, it's media, it's fast paced. It's, juggling 20, 30 things at a time. But so there hasn't been times where I never thought it wasn't going to work. I knew it was going to work from that first customer. It has been working. What I have said is, I don't think I can do this anymore. Me, Sammy, like, I'm tired. I'm getting tired. I'm getting older. I'm getting tired. And so, yeah.
Okay, so with that said, you know what happens? They said, I don't know if it's true or not because that haven't happened to me yet, but shortly after people are retired,
Right?
is the end of the road for them. They don't really.
What do you mean?
They die.
Oh, they died. No,
Shortly
I'll never,
after.
No,
I'm
no,
just
no.
saying, like, if you. Because right now, I understand where you're coming from. and
No,
I
but
get-
wait.
Okay.
I got an answer for that.
okay.
Look, if you invite me on your show, I'm going to be a mic hog because, like
It's all
a bass.
good.
This is what
Do
I
you.
do.
Do you.
So here's the thing, Crispin. It's how you perceive retirement. The way I see retirement, it doesn't mean to stop. If you look at the word, it's retire. That means take the tires off and put some new ones on. So when I retire from Fishbowl, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop. I'm taking off those tires off my plate, but I'm going to put some new tires on the car because there's a lot of things on my bucket list that I need to finish doing. I have a book I'm writing that I got to finish. I still love public speaking. I'm still going to do that. I love voiceover. I'm still going to do that. So I'm always going to be working. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to have more time to do some of these other things that I want to do in my life. Travel, spend more time with my aging parents, spend more time with my grandchildren, finish that book. So I don't think my personality is one. My dad always says, your mom, you, and your brother, you don't stop. You don't know how to sit down. And he says, me and your two sisters, we're chill, right? But my mom, me, and my brother, we're just like, that's who we are since we were little, like that. We're just like those people that get,
Yeah.
no podemos parar. Even at home, when you have a break, we're up. You can ask my kids, man, my mom wakes up and she starts cleaning and she's like this. And they're
Oh,
like,
yeah. That's my mom.
yeah, they're like, sit down, watch a movie. And I'm like, the most I can watch is maybe one movie, but after I get everything done, then I can sit down and relax and get it done.
We always at my mom for the same reason. She's always cleaning and
Yeah.
never stop. And
That's
like,
right.
lady, sit down,
Like
mom.
sit down, yes, and they're like, sit down, watch a movie, and I go, I will when all this is done, and then I
Yeah.
can sit down and enjoy it, and then I'll watch one movie, and they're like, let's binge watch, and I'm like, no, that's a waste of time.
Waste of
Binge
time.
watch, I got stuff to do, you know what I mean? So I think the only time that I can sit still is when I get sick, and I think God has really, like the last 2 years for me, a lot of my health issues have happened. I did get COVID in December. I had the long haulers effect. I have fibromyalgia, these allergies. I mean, God has sat me down. He has sat me down because I'm not
Yeah.
going to sit down on my own.
But you do need that recovery time,
Yes.
you know? We
Yes.
do need our batteries recharged with unplugging yourself from everything that you're
I
doing.
know. It's hard
And
for-
sometimes we don't want to do it. There's other forces that will make us
That's
do
it. And that's what happened to me.
And I
So
think
now
it's
I've
needed.
realized that. Like, I've got to just slow my pace down.
Okay, tell me about the book. Is this the book something like a biography of yourself?
Oh, no,
or
no.
What is it
no.
about?
So I have a couple of books. One of them is just, and it's actually being edited right now. It's actually just kind of like, have you ever seen those books where it's like a little thought each day? On my Facebook, I have hashtag Sammi G Thoughts. And so I've compiled the best of those. And that's going to be a little book. Okay. It's called hashtag Sammi G Thoughts.
All right. So that one's, so it's
Being
getting edited, so it's real
It's soon,
close.
yes.
Okay.
Then my next one, it's called Spaghetti, Throw Spaghetti on the Wall. And so,
so make it stick.
yeah, make or don't. You
Or
know what I
don't.
mean? So, and the Throw Spaghetti on the Wall, the reason I wrote that book is because that's been my mode of operation of how I have done my life.
Okay, so you throw it.
I'm
if it
spontaneous.
sticks, good. If it doesn't stick, it's not ready yet.
But I'm not afraid
But
to
you're still
keep
gonna throw
trying
it.
and changing. Yeah, like if I have an idea, I go with it. Let's like for instance, hey, this Sharkies, let's make a movie. What do you mean make a movie, Sammy? It's a war. Let's throw it on the wall. Now this, it might work, it might not work. People may like it, people may not. But the vision was created, and then let's say they love it. Now we can improve on it and tweak on it and continue to make it better and better.
Not only that, but it's gonna be everlasting because
That's
it's
it.
a documentary and it's a movie,
Yeah.
and it could probably go at a bigger. I mean, I
Right.
know it's within, but there's
Right.
other.
But like I
avenues
don't
and
wait
things
to
like
make
that.
everything perfect to start. And Carla knows that. Like I'm just like, let's do it. Let's go. Let's do it. That's why my slogan for my company is jump in, because
Jump
that's
in.
how I am. I'm a jump in. Let's try it. Let's go. Let's do throw spaghetti. Let's see what works. Let's see. And if it doesn't, oh well, now we learned that it didn't.
Or maybe it wasn't ready at
Or
that
wasn't
time,
ready and we gotta cook it some more.
and then later
Yeah.
throw it again.
Yeah. And so that's how I do my life.
Right.
So that's why it's the title of the book.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then number 3.
And so then my number third one is more, it has nothing to do with like fiction or nonfiction. It's more of an educational book for radio broadcasters. So how to program their shows, right? And it's kind of goes in hand with my masterclass that I teach online. It's called the Behind the Mic Masterclass. It's 6 weeks of how to program your show, how to brand and market it, and how to monetize it. But I'm going to put it in book form for people that might not want to take the masterclass that would rather read it.
Okay, so here's my thought on that part. And
It's more of an
maybe
educational
Maybe
book.
you can answer me that. You were one of the first internet radio stations to exist that I'm aware
Yes.
of. There's been other ones. I know one guy, the original guy that began to do the podcasting part. He kind of, I don't remember his name, but the actual station or the concept of an internet radio station, I feel like you're the first one to come up with
Yeah, we were the first to do it. When I researched it, when the idea came to me, I researched it, and the only thing I found out there was a station in Los Angeles that was in an office that had 2 offices, and it was a table that had the mics, and every single one of the shows was talk show.
talk show.
None of them were music incorporated. None of them, because you have to pay music licensing fees.
Was
You
it
have
more
to-
like a podcast vibe type?
No, it was live. It was
It was
live.
live?
It was live. And so that was it, but it was everyone was talk show. Well, I had come from the world of where you play music and radio. So I was like, no, I want to do like I want shows. If they want to play music, I want them to play music. If they want to do talk, they can do talk. But if they want to, you know what I'm saying? I wanted
Yeah.
to have that aspect. So we were the first to do that with the music, right? And to offer the music licensing. And then also, like I said, their facility was just literally an office with a table and some things. It wasn't like what we had created at the first, more of a station feel, right? More
Yeah.
of a station feel. So nothing had been done like that before.
Okay. So with that being said, and the book that you're getting at the third one, do you think it's still something relevant because terrestrial radio is not really what it is anymore? Even though most likely, like remember FM
Yeah.
was here for a while until AM was here until
Yes.
FM took over.
Right.
And then now it's still probably going to be here for a long time.
Right.
But do you think the things that you're doing is still going to be relevant for, let's say, 20, 30 years from now?
Yeah, because what I'm doing is I'm not talking about terrestrial radio.
Mhm.
I'm talking about digital radio and podcasting. I'm
Okay.
talking about internet radio and
Okay.
podcasting. What I teach now is what we're doing now.
Current.
But see, a lot of people, here's the problem is when you get an FM and AM radio, like the world I come from, they're hiring you from your air check, your professional, you've done it. Podcasting and internet radio, everyday people are getting into it.
Yeah.
They're doing it, but they haven't been trained like a professional how to do it, how to program it, how to monetize it, how to brand and market it the way we do in FM and AM. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's all content. It's all content.
Yes.
AM, it's all content. It's just the vehicle we're using to push it out. But still, the principles of how to do a correct radio show in terms of to get listeners, to grow listeners, to monetize it, that is the same across the board because it's all content. But how do you do it? So there's so many people doing podcasts, thousands and thousands, and internet shows now, but they've never been trained. They just get on the mic and they just start talking, but they don't understand how to do it correctly.
Yeah, and it's all communication too, effective communication, like you said, content.
Yes, but there's also
presentation.
strategy involved.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of strategy involved. There's a lot of psychology involved of the listeners. There's a lot of things that unless they have been there, done that, worked with a mentor themselves, understood it, have degrees in it, then they're not going to get taught that.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be relevant.
Yeah, and I look forward to it. I'll get a copy of
Yes.
all of them.
Yes,
Of all
thank
of them.
you.
So whenever
right,
you have them
this
ready,
is on tape, right?
Yeah,
this
it's
is
on tape.
he's
I
gonna
have
buy
it
my
on
books.
video. I'm about my word.
I'm gonna get his cup.
I'm about my word. You know I'm about my word.
I am, and
sometimes
also
it's not.
I also want to say that I was talking about the Sharkey Awards.
Yeah.
Well, Crispin was our show of the year, which is the highest award. Well, the highest award is the Legacy Award. I've only given that to one other person. This year, someone else is going to earn it. But I've only given that to 2 people in 12 years. But then the next award that is yearly, that's the highest award, is the Show of the Year.
Yep.
And Crispin is a recipient of that award in
2015.
2015. So,
16.
so
Yeah.
I was very
Appreciate
proud
it.
of you when you came in and you did an amazing job for us. And I love what you're doing here, which, to be honest with you, I love this show way better than the show you did, meaning the concept.
Yes, because I think it's more. I appreciate the compliment. I was one of the first Latino shows by a Latino that won.
You're the only Latino that has won
the
it.
only one. And I felt like this was more. So I'm always been part of a group of things or part of a movement of somebody.
Yes.
And nothing that was mine.
Right.
And I didn't feel right until I have to just separate myself from it and do my own thing. And I felt it was important for the same reason when I mentioned in the beginning is that a lot of Latinos sometimes we forgot certain things that we contribute in the world.
So many
chocolate, tortilla, corn, potatoes. All that is literally at this moment feeding the world. And all those came from the area of the Latin Americas and all that.
That's right.
Know? And if we don't have anything now that you can go back and look, because a lot of the times the books don't, like current education and the curriculum doesn't have that information.
Well, and I hate to say it, in Texas, they just passed a law while we were sleeping where all of that is going to be taken out. Anything that or any small part that exists of teaching about other cultures like that, they're removing. So we really need outlets like yours, like this show, where people can go back and hear the wonderful things that our culture is doing.
Yeah, cacao, chocolate. You know, it's funny. Everything started from the Americas, taken to Europe, and then right back to the United States.
Right.
So it's okay if they pass all those laws because unfortunately they got the internet, they got Fishbowl, they got the places that you can express yourself.
The library,
education that now you can do for yourself.
Yes.
So even if I don't have any kids, but if I was to have kids, I would let them explore things that they can learn more.
Yes.
Outside of whatever they have in school, because now I feel like in school all they teach you is how to take a test.
Yes.
And I don't think that's the way.
And that's what I was going to tell you. Latino parents really have to get behind their children to help them reach their dreams. Because when people ask me, Sammy, how did you accomplish the things you accomplished in your sports, in your career, in this? And I have to go back to, of course, first and foremost, God.
Yeah.
But every day I say, thank you, God, for making me the child of these 2 individuals who had forward thinking, these 2 Latino parents that were so ahead of their time, I think, that they were able to encourage us in the way they did, support us in the way they did, help us and put us at a young age, right, in those places that would help us hone our skill.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't at the school that had a program, they were going to find a place that we could hone our skills. You see what I mean?
Yeah, no, and
So
it's very important. I
it's
think
so
it's super
it's so
important.
huge that more Latino parents really get involved in that way.
Yeah, I think so. I know it's 100% factual what you're
Yes.
saying, and I think that it's a big problem in the Latino community that we
Yes.
don't do that to
Yes.
get behind. Just okay, so maybe we think about it takes money and this and that. No, just as little kids, telling them that they're able to do whatever they want
Right.
to, plant that seed that they're limitless, that they can go and pursue whatever.
Yes.
And at minimum, give them that, and then later on, it will play out.
Self-development,
because
yes.
even by yourself, without, let's say, they were able to find the finances to get you whatever, but minimum they give you that mentality.
Exactly.
The mentality that you were able to do whatever you needed
Yes.
to, and I felt that's how you discover, which I feel like even though you love radio, I think communication and all that was mostly your first love as far as what you
Right.
wanted to do.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I think it's awesome. So you
Yeah.
are right. I think you're 100% right that we.
But look,
be
it doesn't
encouraged.
even have to cost money because there's a library that's free, that you get a library card.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, my parents' mindset came from the books that they read. And those can be found in a library. So
Absolutely.
reading motivational books, getting off the TV. Yes, watch TV a little bit, but take the time to read some of these motivational self-help, these great people, because that's where the mindset comes in.
Yeah. Pitbull, the rapper Pitbull.
Yes.
He said his mom used to drive him to wherever school, whatever, and he always have Tony Robbins tapes playing.
That's it.
Always.
Yes.
And he always like, I don't want to listen to that. But in the back,
He was
subconsciously always
planting
getting
the
wired.
seed.
Now
Yes.
he's working with the guy.
That's it. And that
And
was
it's
my
about
dad.
that.
My dad had Zig Ziglar. These were friends of his because that's what he did in his life. He was in sales, so a lot of and he wrote manuals and sales stuff for State Farm, which is a huge company,
Oh, yeah.
global company. So he was, motivating and inspiring. So he was in that world. So a lot of these guys that you hear, Zig Ziglar, OG Mandino, these were people that were coming over to eat at my house or be,
Oh, wow,
with my
really?
dad. Yeah. So I grew up with I'll even bring you one day. Remind me. I have. Before there was CDs and before there was digital, there was records, right? There was
Yeah.
vinyl. Those motivational tapes that you hear, they were on records, and my dad would be playing them. And so,
Yeah.
you're a little girl sitting there playing with your Barbies, but that's getting into your head.
And subconscious mind.
And
is
then when
crazy,
he would
bro.
read a book that was like motivational, inspiring, he would give it to us to read.
Hmm.
So it's put into your mindset. It's
Yeah.
put into your brain early on.
Yeah.
And if you can get that kind of socialization into more children, and especially in our community, in our Latino community, man,
Yeah, I think we
makes
still
all the
need work.
difference.
I think we have come a long way from just being a regular worker to being lawyers, to being business owners, entrepreneurs, to different things. But we still have a lot of work to do for the same thing, that you can't just go to work and then go home and then party in the weekends and then do it all over again. And
Right.
yes, of course, take your children to church and teach them about God. But again, to expand their mind
Yes.
and be more than that, because it's going to be a cycle and it's going to be the same thing over
That's
and
it.
over again. If you don't really take them, listen even to motivational speak. Instead of watching a novela, watch a couple of motivational videos.
Right.
Of
It's
speeches of people that really move.
yeah,
can
and
move
those are
you.
free. You
Yeah,
can go to
absolutely.
YouTube. They're free.
They're
Go
100%
to
free.
the library. The books are free.
Yeah.
So there's ways. It just takes effort.
It does.
It takes effort, but those efforts will pay off with your children, and then the next generation and the next generation and the next generation.
Yeah. Because if you don't leave them anything else, let's say you leave them that much and that sense that they can go for more
And do
that
anything.
drive,
Yes.
that's like priceless compared to leaving them. Of course, wealth is good and
Right.
having an inheritance. But
Right.
if you don't have that, for whatever reason, you weren't able to get the finances.
It's actually better. I was
Yeah.
reading, I don't know if you watch CNN, but Anderson Cooper,
Yes, I know
he
who he
makes
is.
$12 million a year just on CNN, not the other stuff he does,
Oh, yeah.
right? And they asked him, because he just adopted a baby not too long ago, and they asked him, are you going to leave a lot to him? And he goes, no. No, I'm not going to leave him anything. I will pay for his school. That's it. And then his mother was Gloria Vanderbilt, who came from the Vanderbilt family, which is
family.
one of the top, mega riches. And then
Mega
she
rich.
made her own wealth. But guess what? That's how they trained her. Like, we ain't gonna, just because you come from the Vanderbilts, we're not going to give you nothing. You go out and make your own stuff. We'll pay for school. You go out. And she did. She went to design school, and Gloria Vanderbilt Pride, and she created her own wealth. And they said, because if we leave it to, he said, if my mom would have left me all this money, the he
He
said
blew it.
Anderson's Cooper. No, he said, what drive would I have had
Yeah.
to become who I am now at CNN, this journalist, this famous. I wouldn't have had no drive because it would have been given to me.
Well, not only that, but whenever they give you something that is not yours and there's no effort behind it,
Yeah.
you don't treat it well.
Right.
There's no work behind it. There's no sacrifice.
And
there's
statistically,
nothing.
they lose it within 2 generations.
It's like winning the lottery and you don't have
Yes.
the education to know how to handle. And
But you
manage it
hear
well.
people like Bill Gates say that they're not leaving big inheritance. They'll pay for education.
But people get mad.
Oh, they're like,
who are they to opinion on somebody else's money that they
Right.
made with their sacrifice and what they want to do
Yes.
to educate their children?
yes,
You know.
yes. I don't know. My husband says if I was that rich, I'd give it to my kids. Like he's like he wants to, and I'm
I
like,
can
well,
see
I'd
that.
give some, probably more than what they're saying. But at the same time, I agree with that philosophy that, they're not gonna appreciate it as
Yeah,
much. They're not gonna.
There's no effort behind
There's
it.
no effort behind it. Yeah.
They give you anything, and then before you know it, you just throw it away like a toy.
Yes.
Like every toy,
Yes.
you just throw it to the side and
Yes.
it's gone.
So a lot of those guys, that's why they give a lot to charities and organizations to help the world, to make the world a better place,
Absolutely.
to do that. Because if they give it all to their kids will probably squander it, and then and their kids might not become somebody as great as them.
Yeah, Jackie Chan's gonna be a lot of wealthy people. They're well off, and I see the philosophy behind it. I see why they would want to do it because,
Yes.
again, like you said, if it's no effort, no drive,
No
to
drive.
become anything more than you just laying there,
Yes.
whatever they doing, social
Do the
media,
work.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so before I let you go, I do appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
I think that I succeeded in asking you a few things that never been. And you're gonna be on TV, by the way.
Oh, I am.
Maybe 40 years later on YouTube, you finally made it on
Oh,
TV.
wow.
Think about that.
Yeah, that'll
Took
be
a- took a
fun. And
minute.
I'm going to be next Saturday on the big screen at the Cinemark Theater.
Hey, we're gonna get this out before it. However, I
Oh, wow.
appreciate the time.
Yes, thank you for
And
having me.
Congratulations on the 12 years.
Thank
What are
you.
one final thought that you will want to give to anybody, whether it's Latino or anybody getting into radio or anybody that has a dream that's just hesitant to go for it? What would you say?
So I always say my quote that I end my show with.
Mm-hmm.
I have a show here called The Interview, or it's also a quote that I end my speeches with when I go public speaking. It's my favorite quote. I didn't write it, and it's unknown. I don't know who did, because when I looked it up, it says unknown. But if I could get it tattooed on my back, I might. But it's, no one is you, and that is your power. No one is you, and that is your power.
I told you that before.
You didn't tell
I
me
told
that.
you this before.
No.
Yes.
I've had this for years.
I said that before to you. I remember, or we had a conversation.
trying to
about
take
it.
credit.
I'm not trying to take credit for that quote, but I remember you and I having a discussion about it.
No, I think I told you that that's my favorite quote when we were having a discussion.
I gave a speech a long time ago. I don't think I even knew you at that time.
Because
or if
where
did.
I found this was online a long time ago.
I'm not doubting that.
And
but
it said unknown, and I was like, dang, and I was researching an unknown, and I was like, somebody had to write this.
Okay.
But so if anybody knows who actually wrote it, because I believe in giving credit to the
Absolutely.
actual writer, but yeah, if I leave my shows like that, I leave my speeches like that. Anytime I have an audience, I let them know that no one is you, and that is your power. Don't try to be somebody else. Be authentically you. You have everything inside of you to be great.
Okay, I'm not trying to take credit for the quote, but what I'm trying to tell you is that
Oh, Lord,
it's so crazy to me that I had said that same quote before, and I don't think I picked it up from you, but it's crazy to me that I have the same quote that I said before on a speech at a previous time. I think it's Toastmasters class that I was doing, and I did something like that because I told them the story about how a little bit of my story, how I got here and this and that, and that's how I ended it with.
And that's why we're going to come full circle of how we started the show.
Yeah.
We're one.
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
why you have the same quote, because we're really one.
Whatever it is, whatever psyche, whatever unexplained energy that we all said, we had saying the same quote. It's trippy to me. It wasn't that I was trying to take credit. Like, I said that before. Like, I didn't hear it from you. I don't believe I heard it from you. But I swear I say exactly the same.
Because I say
quote.
it a lot, and I post it a lot, and I
Yeah.
talk about it a lot. But yeah,
It
well,
might have been that I
let's
might have
toast.
read. It might have been that I might have read it somewhere.
Great
and I thought
minds think alike.
But it's crazy to me that I've used it before, and I'm like, and I'm here, and I'm like, what?
Great minds think
It
alike.
is. All right. What? Okay. So let's do one more thing because.
Wait, you said one more the last time.
Well, I know, but you know how this goes. 2 year short goal, 5 year long goal?
I never do that. I never answer
Why
that
is
question
that?
when people ask me because I don't even know if I'm going to be here tomorrow.
Good.
So, do I journal? I journal a lot since I was little. I journal my dreams, what I hope to accomplish, but I never put a date to it. I never put a date to it because I'm not going to even be here tomorrow. So, I do visualize it and I do verbalize it and I do write it. And then I start doing the action to do it. But I never put like, oh, in 2 years, I hope to be da-da-da. I might not even make it to lunch tomorrow. So I don't like to put a date to things in that sense.
Right.
As far as goals, I have dreams, I have bucket lists, but there's never a date.
So you do have goals without a due date, but you have for sure written goals.
There's certain things that in business you have to have a due date because there's deadlines. Okay, so in those kinds of things like that. But I'm talking about like, where will you be in 2 years? Where will your company be in 5 years?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't even ever think I was going to even have a company like Fishbowl. And I'm someone that writes my goals and sets goals and does things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was never in any of my journals. Like, oh, I want to own an internet radio network one day. Like, that was never on there. And here I am 12 years into this. I never thought we'd be sitting right here in Choctaw Park Stadium for even, like, I don't, that's not how I work. That's not how I work.
And the mortality part, the fact that you realize that we're not here forever.
No.
Where did that come more of? Because a lot of people they don't really ponder that question, the fact that we could go tomorrow, and it's a fact.
That's part of life. It's like, that if you're born what is it called? A caterpillar, know that eventually you're going to become a butterfly. Like, that's how you were designed. So God designed us to live here on earth and have an end date and then move on. This is just a phase. So we're going to move on to that next chapter. And it's going to happen to all of us. We just don't know how or when. We know the caterpillar. We've studied it. We see it in a book. And there's a couple of people that claim they died and came back and all that. We can read those books to see what it's similar. A lot of them have similar experiences. Like, you see this light, you see this wow, right? So there's enough of a commonality that you go, oh, okay, maybe it's like that. But, I mean, mortality is not anything to be afraid of. It's part of, just like you got to go to, just like you got to be a baby and then you got to be old and then you got to be, young or whatever.
Yeah.
We're all going to transition.
Well, the reason why I ask is because I wake up most of the time, pretty much every day, and there's a guy that I usually listen to, and it's something that I say every morning, and I said it before here, that says, I'm not immortal, I am mortal, and I will die one day.
Yes.
And not to scare me, but to realize my mortality and to realize that we're not here for a long time. And
well, our physical body is not immortal.
We'll go.
Our physical body is not immortal, but our spiritual being is immortal, in my opinion. That is my belief.
Okay, so we can get into that in a different, you're believing whatever you believe.
Because we're all everything is energy, and we're all energy. There's even energy in this mat here. If you looked in a microscope, you'd see little things moving.
They do destroy atoms, you know that, right?
So we are all energy. So energy, it continues. It changes form. It's kind of like an ice cube can get melt into water, but it's still, if you look in the microscope, it still has those components in it.
Yes.
So I just believe we're energy, and I believe we're just going to change form.
I believe that, but there's the collider in Switzerland. They actually have been able to destroy atoms to pulverize them to nothing. So energy has been evaporated.
But we're beyond atoms. Remember?
Yeah, I don't think we really know exactly how we are. There's so many more questions.
It's the Holy. We're spirit. It's that Holy Spirit. So that's just my opinion.
It is, and I feel, I don't know. It's your opinion.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
I know I have more questions than answers, but my opinion would be like, whatever you believe in is whatever is going to happen whenever we leave this physical body. Whatever it is that you have, the last thought, whether you're going to heaven or whatever is where you're going to end up with, whether it's that's it, the end of the line, where everything goes dark, where you go into another body, whether you go into heaven, whatever, that's just what's going to happen. Like, your last final believings is wherever you go.
Oh, interesting.
And I don't know.
Yeah, but that's a whole other show. That's a whole other show.
It is.
What Happens After Death show.
It is.
Coming to you at a Fishbowl Radio Network studio.
Perfect time during Halloween season to know. When we talked about the Llorona, we talk about different things. And it's like a perfect.
La Chupacabra.
Yes. I appreciate it. Again, one more toast.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Many more years to come, whatever years
Thank
that you
you.
do. I appreciate the time, the impromptu, the professionalism to being able to get here. I felt like I got material and answers from you that never been provided to the radio or video.
Right.
And I appreciate it.
Well, I'm looking forward to looking back and seeing this.
I'll
So
send
make
it to
sure you send me the
You'll
links.
be the first one to get it.
Thank
I
you.
guarantee it. Again, this is the Global Latin Factor podcast. Remember, we're just like you. We are the spice in this melting pot that it is the world. Until next time.
Todos en este país han estudiado